But if you talk about intelligence of the human body, in an earlier conversation, you mentioned as well the gut-brain axis when you're talking about stress.
Yeah.
Can you just discuss that a little bit?
So, when I studied 30 years ago, we learned about the gut, and the gut was there to absorb nutrition, and the rest, it was full of bacteria that caused problems: appendicitis, urinary tract infections, diverticulitis, and stomach ulcers. Now we realize that gastrointestinal system is incredibly wise. We talk about gut. I've got a gut feeling.
Gut feeling, yes.
A gut
instinct.
Yeah. Sits here. I've got a knot in my stomach. My throat closes up. You're a pain in the backside. Emotions connected to the gut.
Right.
But the gut has actually got 5 very important functions. Absorption. I've talked about excretion. Very important. 80% of your immune system lies in the gut. 80%. And that's our whole talk of the importance of that. So when you irritate and inflame the gut, you inflame your whole immune system.
Right.
So when we look nowadays at chronic diseases, look at the gut, because that's where inflammation starts.
That's another episode.
Whole different episode.
Back. Yes.
Then there's the enteric system, nervous system. You've got as many nerves and synapses and connections in the gut as the whole of your vertebral column and all the nerves that come from the back into your body. In fact, they reckon it's about the size of a cat brain.
Right.
It makes all the automatic decisions, decides when do you need to go to the toilet, how much peristalsis should there be, how fast should the heart beat, how fast should we breathe.
So there's literally a brain in your gut.
It's a brain in the gut. And they talk to each other.
Right.
The biggest nerve between the brain and the gut is the vagus nerve, the 10th craniosacral nerve. We were taught that's how the brain manages lungs, heart, kidneys, everything. Now we know between 70 and 95% of information in that vagus nerve runs from the gut to the brain.
Not the other way around.
Not the other way around.
Fascinating.
We get constant information from here. And then the 5th function is it harbors 100 trillion bacteria. You are about 10 trillion cells, consist of about 10 trillion cells. 100 trillion viruses, bacteria, fungi live inside of us, most in the colon. They are friends. I want people to completely change their mind about what goes on in the gut and the flora in the gut. So when I eat to look after my friends. I don't eat to feel like, to have a nice taste, because they look after me. And again, that's a whole new topic.
This is the whole topic where we're talking about probiotics and fermented foods and all of that.
Yeah.
But I think just coming back to the vagus nerve, as an integrative practitioner working with something like light therapy, wouldn't that be an area where you'd focus on the vagus nerve, possibly with low magnetic frequency light to stimulate?
That is a very interesting field, of which I don't know enough to really...
That's just an example of integrating different modalities.
I'll tell you a simple thing, very simple, practical thing. You trip and you fall on your head. I've had a few falls off my mountain bike. I see it's an equestrian center, so there's riding. You fall on your head, that causes concussion, and that vagus nerve switches off. Not completely, but the communication stops. Huge problem. Now the gut, the interaction doesn't take place over time. Very subtle changes. Very simple way to reactivate that is take a swig of water every day and gargle 2-3 times a day. Just gargle. So I've had children who fell off their bike or fell off a horse or from a tree, had concussion, and I see them 10-15 years later with an upset gut. And one of the most practical things to reactivate that function is to gargle. You take water and you gargle a few times a day, just that gargling.
So you could do it every morning as part of your toothbrushing routine.
Why not? Yeah. A tuning fork, you can take a tuning fork, put it behind the ears. Apparently that also stimulates the vagus nerve.
So, Dr. Bredell, talking about being in practice, you have most likely two very distinct different types of patients with presenting with a stress response. So I could imagine, I'm sure there's a lot more, but I could imagine one would be somebody that's experiencing a lot of stress triggers and that find themselves in a constant state of anxiety, and they present with anxiety, and then the other person in a constant state of rage. They have road rage, they have anger management problems, they have addiction issues. Yeah. So how would you as an integrative medicine doctor start even looking at that whole picture and unpacking that, because it's such two totally different presentations, and surely that calls for completely different treatment, medicines, herbals, homeopathics.
That's what happens in medicine. You see something, you give it a diagnosis, give it a label, and every label has got medicines. It's two different things, and you might calm the one guy down or give the other one anger management or yoga or TRE. We can talk about tension and trauma release exercises. That's a whole new topic, but it's a wonderful, wonderful tool, TRE.
I intend to cover that, yeah.
To calm down the sympathetic nervous system. And that alone can sort out the anxious person and the angry person.
So you're again talking about bringing in a different modality.
There's another different modality,
so many
but I
tools
need
in your
to
arsenal. So
because we are not simple creatures. We are the most amazing human beings, and to treat everybody the same is ridiculous. We shouldn't even eat the same because our genes differ, and there's not one single diet that treats all. Every now and then
people are unique.
But we need everything. You don't need just this or just that. You need everything, but some people will need more protein, some will need more fat, some will need more grains, some will need more salads, but we all need everything, but pure, organically grown, as nature made it, not processed and changed. And we're the only animals in this whole planet who are intelligent enough to change our food and then stupid enough to eat it. Cooking is okay because you help the digestive process. You break down, and we can get more out of food by cooking and not processing and fermenting. But to change it, to remove stuff, doesn't make sense. Anyway, now you're really getting worked up.
All right. What I do want to talk about is the difference between a herbal product and a homeopathic
I'm smiling
product.
Because you're trying your best to get somewhere and I go off on a tangent.
This is really, I'd like to keep it real. This is exactly what kind of conversation we'd be having if we were not being filmed. But I think it's important, looking at the management of a chronically stressed person, you would also look at remedies, natural products. As well as sleep, exercise, water, food, and so on. So if we just touch on the natural options, we're aware of vitamins and minerals, but I think there's a confusion when we talk about herbals and homeopathics, because many people think it's the same thing. Can you please just explain the difference?
So I'm going to explain it by using an analogy. You want to build a house, so you've got an architect and you've got plans, and you've got building materials and notices that you pass on, and telephone and WhatsApp. So your genetics would be the basic plan, and that's another topic. What part of that plan gets read? Because you are not your genetics, because you can get information. But you only read certain parts. You don't have to read the cancer gene ever in your life, even if you have it, by the way. Okay, so you've got that. So I see that as the genetics. Then you need a builder, the person, but he needs building blocks. And the building blocks are the nutrients, the foods. But then we need to tell each other what goes on. So you will write memos and send WhatsApp. The beauty with homeopathics It is just a little memo. It's a nudge. It's not a medicine. If you take that homeopathic remedy and you look into it, you won't find any chemical. Just a message, and it's on a quantum physics level where whatever message you want to send, you use the herb that causes the illness that you're treating. If you give it in overdose, you use that in a homeopathic strength. It means it's been diluted to the point where there's no chemical left. Just the image or the message of that is imprinted onto the water molecule. Water is a most unbelievable
that's
molecule.
another topic.
So it's just a nudge. It's just a memo. It's just an information.
I mean, the French scientists proved the memory of water exists. And the homeopathic principle is not only treat likes with like, but a medium that carries the memory of an imprint.
Of an imprint. That's on a. It's like a photo of your mum. If I show you a photo, it's not your mum, but you'll immediately know who it is. You've got a beautiful mum, I must say. Where do you get all these beautiful models? Anyway,
I'd like to summarize and recap
homeopathy. Herbs are the extracts of the actual
and that
nutrients.
Plant, so that could be a herbal extract. It could be the roots, the flowers, the stems, the leaves. The whole plant or parts of the plant is a herbal extract done in alcohol tincture form or freeze-dried.
Freeze-dried, or
so
the
there's
product
various ways of
but it's never a single chemical. That's the beauty of herbs. You've got maybe one active ingredient, but it's got hundreds of other molecules around it that will calm down a side effect of this and give a little bit of more of this and improve the absorption and improve the excretion. When you use medicine, it's a single chemical, and that's why we have side effects, and that's why it's very very strong and active, and sometimes we need it, but it's got side effects. The beauty with herbs is it's got the whole package as it is in nature.
I'm going to have to invite you to come back again.
I'd love to come back. I really enjoyed this.
Day, but I'd love to invite you to come back. And what I'd like to share is your knowledge on the difference between a complex and a simplex homeopathic remedy, touch again on the difference between homeopathic and herbal, and then how you would use this in an integrative practice as a remedy. And then we can go into insomnia and into anxiety and into stress on separate video clips. But thank you so much for today. It was fun. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
I hope people get something. That's my passion, is to educate and to tell, because there's a lot of lies out there, and I want people to have the tools to look after themselves. That's my next 30 years job.
Lovely to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lillian.